Morning, and to the Ilui Nishmas, my grandmother, Grandma Rita we call her. Rita Bas Rivka, I believe. So there is an Aliyas Neshama, when your soul is elevated, all the good that a person does throughout their entire life comes to the fore, and they see reciprocity for all that. So the Aliyas Neshama is something that is applicable to all of us. Welcome. It's a mitzvah not only to know this, that the time of the reward and compensation for all you've done is not just reserved for the time when the soul returns to heaven, but also in the physical world. And not just in a way that you have wealth and prosperity and health, but that you should have that too, but in a way that you see in all of that a connection to Hashem. So the reward is not just enjoying good times, but enjoying the one who gives you good times, which is something that is intended to do and to be experienced hayom laseisam, in the today when you do work, because God compensates, like the Torah law prescribes, that you have to take care of your workers. You have to pay them in the day that they're working, and even if they're operating, we learned, in a vineyard, they can eat from the grapes, a symbol of pleasure, not just therefore our worldly needs, but also the things that we enjoy, provided for us in today, in the time to do them. So you're intended to experience the promise of paradise now while you're working towards it. The way that looks psychologically is that you actually love to do it. It's when you love going to the gym in the morning. Whistle while you work. Whistle while you work. If you can whistle while you work, that is the reward. Schar mitzvah means that you connect to Hashem through the mitzvah itself, and it doesn't require any extra relish or compensation. Once you experience that there's a tranquility and peace and pleasure in all of the things that we do to show that we believe in Hashem, that itself becomes the reward, and leading to the simple reward for the individual at the time that he or she decides, and then to be part of a growing movement where eventually, and it could come on very quickly, as we've demonstrated here many times, that it expands to your neighbors and to the rest of the world. The power to do that is not even requiring the internet or even satellite technology that the Rebbe spoke about. It simply requires a recognition and awareness of the power of a person in the moment that you consider. Every single moment contains within it every moment, past, present, and future. We learn here in this later teaching of the Rebbe. Something that obviously is very philosophical, but it's intended to empower the person who has choice how to make that moment perfect. I want to read a little bit from the last week parsha, because it's not only a mitzvah to know that the reward is now, but it's a mitzvah to publicize this as well. So I really feel that this is the greatest opportunity to have all this technology and to have so many interested people to do this with. So action is the main thing. Where do we take all of this talk of the accessibility of the whistle while you work phenomenon, that you feel the reward, the rewardingness of doing what you're doing is the reward. So we have to publicize that in every place we have to publicize that now we are now standing on the final moments, the completion of all of our service throughout all of our long history, which was last week's parsha, going out to wage war on the enemy. And this week's parsha is descriptive of the beginning of the era of receiving compensation for all your soul's efforts throughout all time. Matan scharim shel tzadikim, which is described as the gift of reward for the righteous. So it's not just a reward. It's not just a compensation. It's a gift of the righteous, which is described in the verse as Ki savle el hart. You're not going out to wage war. You're coming into the land to enjoy, to reap the benefits of that effort. And you inherit it. So it's not even something that you don't just eat what you kill. You inherit as well, and you settle it. So the earth, the haaretz, the artsius of the things that draw us downwards, the earth, is intended to be the ultimate place where you bring the divine, the seed, and blossom forth through the earth. After the war that you set out on to conquer, and you inherit it, it doesn't become something that was foreign and taken, but something that is bequeathed, something that is intended for us. V'yashavta, and you immerse yourself and settle in that. So the earth becomes Taihu, the world of chaos. The earthiness to come out of there, to enter into that, rather. Hisavai al haaretz, when you come into the land, you are going into the world of Chaimer Hiyuli, the world of matter, and before it has form. That is a world of chaos. So there's a lot of chaos in the earth of the soul's experience when it's in the physical world. But in the physical world, you have something different than the world of chaos. You have a world of form. The purpose of a world of form, where it's not just matter without form, which is meaningless. It's chaos. It's an earthiness that just doesn't allow us to have any concept of description at all. So the world of description of experience, of meaningful experience, is the world of formation. Only there can you have the possibility for reward and punishment. So the idea of reward and punishment is to give reward. You can't have reward without a punishment. If everything is this bliss, this state of bittul, where there's no consciousness besides the divine, the creator itself, you cannot create a world of reward. So it's that ability to experience the gift of connection to Hashem. If you're too connected to Hashem, you can't separate. So when you can separate is in the world of description, of formation, where you can distinguish between things. The world of Bria is closer to the world of, it doesn't call it Atzilus here, it calls it Keser. Because Keser, the world of Bria, formation, is the world of mind. Above the world of mind is the world of experience, Keser, the crown, which is associated with the number 1, as opposed to Bria, which is associated with the number 10. So creation happened with 10 utterances, as opposed to the capacity for Hashem to create a world where it could have been through just Keser, through one sphera of bliss, eternal. But there cannot be any experience of sharing that unless you have a world of Bria, of creation. The world of creation is reflected of 10, but the 10 spheres, which are meant to give you some spectrum of experience, as opposed to just this state of bittul, of Keser. The Kesers are intended to be crowned. So the mother crowns Zeranpin, Bina, and intends to crown. So the crown is passed on, it's inherited. It's a coronation that's generational from the mother to the child, the Bria, the creation. To be crowned with it is only possible if you could have someone to crown. So we have to create a someone. The someone can therefore be rewarded in relative incremental states until they come eventually, or never, to infinity. Now, the capacity to do that, we're learning, is because we're not only considered holy, a Jew is holy, but they have a holy mission to reveal that everything, the best, is always intended to be given to Hashem. So you tithe and you give the first fruits. The first fruits is representative of this reward that we're talking about. When you bring your property and express that, you connect the best of what you have to the source. So the kohen represents that. You bring the fruits of your reward to the holy temple, where you're indicating that not only are the best of your fruit something that you're dedicating to Hashem, but also the container that you give it to, unless it's shown to be of worth unto itself. So if there was the rich people would in fact do this. They would bring glorious baskets of gold and silver, and they would get those back, and the fruits would go to the kohen, to the priest, on behalf of Hashem. Like, it's this recognition that the Jew is giving his best to Hashem, acknowledging that everything is a blessing from Hashem. If the person was not a wealthy person, he would use reeds and weave baskets of his own handicraft, and those would actually be considered a gift to the kohen itself. So the person's hands is the most external part of him that creates this, and weaves it with fabrics that are not like precious metals, but rather only what a poor person could afford, something I guess you can take from the bulrushes, and weave of it something shows that we have the ability to not only dedicate and express the ultimate gratitude, and so we're giving the first fruits to Hashem in this way, but all the entrapment of that, all the surrounding, the vessel that contains that you bring that with you, that too becomes something that stays in Holy of Holies before Hashem. So I'm condensing a lot of stuff here. Try and follow that. The Rebbe interprets this to mean that the process of making us a vessel to contain the first fruits and to be considered a gift that belongs in the Holy of Holies, it's before Hashem, higher than God's name, Havaya, into the Pneumius Lifnei. The way that is most expressed in the vessel that contains that gift, that the fruits here. So the vessel is analogous to our own awareness. There's a lot that's true that we don't understand. But when you put it in a vessel and you contain it and you absorb it and it becomes part of you, is the purpose of all this. So that is most reflected in things that we do that are mundane. When we do an obviously righteous or something reflective of like Torah study, accumulating more knowledge of God's wisdom, that's obvious and overt. But when you are pumping up your kid's bike with air in the tires, it's more difficult to see the connection between that and your creator unless you have this absorbed experience of the Bikurim, the first fruits, the best, the spiritual, the dedicated. So all the trappings and all the things that contain it become also part of this process and therefore taken into before Hashem, like these first fruits, representing the idea that all the work that we do in transforming ourselves is that becomes the vessel to allow us experience what this gift of Bikurim is, that we are supposed to absorb the infinite blessing of being also considered the chosen, the first fruits. The Jewish people are likened to the first fruits, so they partake of the very fruits that they're giving, and the giving itself becomes the reward. So the word tene, you're supposed to put it in a tene, the first fruits going in a tene. The vessel that contains this whole, the mitzvah of giving the first fruits, is an acronym is an acronym for it says V'samt b'tena, you place it, which is this whole process of absorbing, as we said, but you put it in a tena, a basket, or a vessel, is an acronym for tamim, nekudais, eisiais, the vowels, which give sound, and they give reason. Without the vowels, the tradition of how you pronounce the words, you can read the words in different ways. But we have a tradition that goes with the ta'am, the notes, but the reason. There are some notes that are sad and some that are happy, right? There's a reason behind even a note. The reason, then there's nekudais. Sorry, the tamim is the trop, is the notes, whereas nekudais are the vowels. So I said it a bit wrong before. And eisiais is the letters themselves. So you don't know what sound is going to go on if you have a peh, like the letter peh, as in pella, miracle, or an a lamed and an aleph, with the segel underneath it. You have nekudais, but you have tamim, and you have the trop, the way you sing something. The way you sing something is here analogous to the taimei HaTorah, the reasons behind the Torah. The Torah says, put tefillin on your head. Do you know the reason why you do that? When you do have the reason behind why you do things, there's a taste. Tam means also taste. And here, note, it resonates. The ability for things to resonate is the power of Torah. The inner dimension of the Torah is the taimei Torah, the promise of a redemption where we are taught and we learn more correctly. We learn to understand things that are beyond understanding. So God creates a world with 10 utterances to have a place where He could show reward and meaning, which is very popular in Chabad these days, to emphasize a meaningful life. I'm covering a lot of ground because I've missed out a lot on talking to you. Now, the power to do this, how do you make this weave of the basket to contain all this? How do you absorb all this? How are you supposed to live with this and to make it everything in this meaningful way where everything resonates and everything sings to you? You place it in a tena, you let it resonate with meaning. You have the taimei Torah, the meaning behind the form behind all this chaos. You have a world that is unfathomable, that's related to the world of Keser, which is Tayu, which is beyond. Here it's called Lamaila min das lagamri, and completely above the ability to experience. And you give that form, you allow room for reward and punishment, and you create a system where the reward is dispensed and it can be absorbed. So you make a vessel of yourself. So how do you do that, and what are the dynamics? How do you approach this? I'm going to read one small section here, and then that will probably be a day. But remember where we're starting. We're segueing from Parshas Kitayt. When you go out to war, the war is supposed to be something that has the reward built in. This week's Parsha Kisavai, the mitzvah Bikurim, which it's the first thing you do when you go into the land, is you become appreciative of the physical and give form and structure to that. And therefore you have the mitzvah of first fruits and this, and that represents the transformation of the person through a renewal process. It's based on a Rashi on this, the first mitzvah, describing of Hayim Hazeh Hu Mitzavka as something that's commanded to you on this day. So Rashi says on that, B'chol Yom Yu Benecho Chadashi, to teach you that every day this should be new to you. Ki'ilu B'Yom Nitzavta Olam, as if you're today being commanded. So to get excited about putting on tefillin when you did since your bar mitzvah, if you are brought up well enough to do that every day, as it's a mitzvah in the Torah, that's supposed to be completely anew. It's supposed to be like the first time always. So the ability to transform, we're going to see, is connected with this, the capacity for a person to see something as new. Just like when you're a child, it's playing in this sandbox is infinitely incredible, and every ant is a whole world. We are supposed to see a new world every moment. That's what Rashi is teaching you here. And now we show the way that Chassidus applies this. That the idea of first fruits is to show that the whole world is created for you. Bishvili nivra ha'elam, that becoming aware that the divine mission is for your sake, then you yourself become a gift to Hashem. You become the embodiment of what God intended. Once you've assumed that form and taken on that connection with Hashem, He shows you that everything was created for you. The mitzvah Bikurim is meant to teach us that. The power of that, Rashi tells you, is through seeing everything as brand new. Be the child, wake up every morning as a child, that everything is incredible. So from this it's understood that every single detail of someone's life, of a Jew, afilu azavas hat nach nit ashaychas gluya mit Torah, even someone who is yet to show no connection to the Torah, yet a rega in zman, every single moment, yet a nakuda in makom, in every single place in the world, yet ein tzikam machshava, every single individual thought, dibur adar maisa, spoken word or action, haratachlis and zechalein, has its own intent and purpose and importance, and is nit kein emtsoi, and not a means to an end. Every single moment is not a means to another moment. It contains everything within it. Hatatachlis and zechalein, and it affects everything forwards and backwards, and it has its own individual importance, and it's not a means to an end. That is, it is a davar chadash legamri. It's an entirely new thing. So when you recognize that every single moment is entirely new, so God creates this system of time where there never has been this moment, that moment takes on infinite importance because it affects it explains everything that was before, gives meaning to that. It in the present tense, it allows you to choose how you're going to live that single speck of a moment in existence, and it empowers and sets in motion the way the rest of the story goes. The ability to have that much power is because every moment Hashem creates that moment. So every moment is the potential for a complete transformation. Mitzadim tachlis vasta prat hat in zechalein, because of the intent and the importance of everything that Hashem creates. If dem is chal der chiyuv von sagen b'shvili nivra prat zen nivra ha'ilam, that for that reason there is the obligation for a Jew to say that the world was created for the individual. Das heißt, meaning, as al inyan ha'ilam, meaning that every single aspect of the world, al regoim, every single moment, in zman, in time, chula zayin nichlal in dem rega echad, is all included in this one moment. Every moment is everything, therefore every moment is an infinite opportunity to create yourself anew. Just like the whole world is created anew, you have that divine power, the power of free choice, to change everything in a split second. God creates the world always anew every moment. We have the power to create ourselves anew, which is what we're experiencing and how important we are aware that that moment is. Thus, it is understood that the power to accomplish the B'chol Yom Yiyu Beinecha Chadashim, as Rashi says on these words, that every day they should be to you as new. Afal pi vas erhat getanda veda eichlifne mitzah. Even though you already have a history of good performance before this, so it looks like you can glide a bit. Kum davka von a'idin bikurim. That moment becomes the opportunity to give of the first fruits. Because with regard to all aspects of the world, nor an emtsoi zu an ander Zach, Bishvil Yisrael, Bishvil Torah. Since every single thing in the whole universe is for the sake of your experience, and for the sake for Torah to show its divinity within that experience, can doch sein a yem, v'achas kama a rega. It turns out that a day, and how much more so a moment, bisman, zal sein a hemshech zu der aveda fun a yem shalifnei zeh, adar achana ve'antzoi to a yem shel achrei zeh. It could be a continuation of what was before, or a preparation for tomorrow. Every moment can glide, or it can prepare. Specifically, a Jew has the power of accomplishing this instruction that every day everything has to be new. A chiddush amiti, in the truest sense of being new. The example for this is how Hashem creates the entire world, ex nihilo, every moment, al yedei Kadosh Baruch Hu atzmai, by Hashem's own I don't want to say effort, that's for sure. Triggering, I don't know. And it happens on a constant basis daily. Which includes every single moment within that day. In such a way that every single moment becomes a new beginning. In his service of Hashem through Torah and doing mitzvahs. Welche is in zich kelel al regaim ad seif siyum avadasi, which includes all of your efforts towards Hashem, your aveda, to the end of time of your efforts. So every moment affects every single other moment. Bedugma vidavka idin havendik b'kayak to machadish zayin Torah, which is also illustrated by the fact that, or actually just this example is not like amongst others, but we have the power to innovate in Torah. That innovation illustrates the capacity for a person to change every moment, because you could reveal novel insights into the Torah. You have the power to see a deeper wisdom that's unique to you, that you introduce to the world. The capacity for you to do that allows you to influence all of time in this way, so in past, present, and future, because you have the power to innovate in Torah. You could see things a different way. You have the ability to renew your mind every moment, so that has a ripple effect in Back to the Future and forward. Zayendik Kadmala, being that the Torah preceded the world, it has the power to transform in this way. To the extent that it's not just the world around you that you affect through your mind, but you affect yourself. As Ervert via Adam Chadash Mamish, that you should be a totally new person. And yes, I do have that underlined several times. Durch sein Limud HaTorah, through your mindset, which is instructed by learning Torah. Ubechol yem berega ba'efen chadash, constantly renewed every moment, your ability to be divine, or reflect the divine ability to create the world anew every moment. You create yourself anew every single moment with the power of mind, of Torah. Have a good day.